This is number 59 on the independent reviews for new condo construction in Miami. I'm back here with my good friend, Chris Suarez. We go back a long, long way.
Good to have you.
Well, it's a pleasure. Chris, this is completely unrehearsed. The one thing that we want to give you when we do these independent videos is, firstly, something that's actionable, quantifiable, and authentic. And I say that because we've had conversations about, will I just be flattering to everything and everyone? No. If you've seen my articles, if you've seen the most recent article about underperforming condos in Miami, you'll know that I'm definitely not complimentary to everybody, because life doesn't work like that. But we're here today to actually talk about the Four Seasons Coconut Grove. Very close to my heart. We're both fundamentally Grovites. We've been selling the Grove for, I think between us, probably about 40 years.
Absolutely.
A couple of decades each.
Yeah.
And so we've seen everything come up, we've seen everything evolve. So this video, we're gonna go through the building quickly, more specific details you can get from Chris, and then we're gonna give you comparables of how it stacks up into the resale market. I would love to give you numbers about how it stacks up into the new condo construction market for the competition. But in the Grove, there's nothing like it, because it's the only building in Coconut Grove directly on the water for now. Who knows what will happen in the future? Yeah. We don't have a lot of product availability in the Grove because it's only 10% condos, 90% houses, but this is the one that a lot of people have been waiting for. It is the Four Seasons Coconut Grove. So, Chris, without further ado, take us through the project very, very quickly and really lay on, like, what's the relationship with the Four Seasons? Because branding is something that I've had a big kind of dialogue over, and some buildings are not hitting the mark because they're branded in a kind of a licensing agreement, kind of, it doesn't add value way. Yeah. But the Four Seasons is the Four Seasons.
Absolutely.
And tell everyone why that actually, in your opinion, why that matters.
This is a project that, everybody in Miami has been talking about for a really long time, and we're lucky now to be able to bring that to you guys and to show you what all the hype has been, right? Hugo Colombo of CMC Group has been lucky to partner up with our four partners from the Surf Club to bring this amazing product to the Grove. And when I say that there's really nothing like it, it's not typical, most people always say,
it's not hyperbole.
But this really is very special. And I honestly believe that there's not that many properties that will come up even close to what we're gonna deliver here in the Grove. This is a Four Seasons, however, it's private residences. What exactly does that mean, right? Because a lot of people ask, yeah, we get that it's branded, we get that there are a lot of new projects out there that have the brand together, but what does that mean when you have a Four Seasons and it's a private residences? Well, what that means specifically is that this building will be managed in the same format, in the same way that any other Four Seasons is managed, without the hotel component to it. What does that mean? That means there'll be 70 residences in this building. There'll be 70 units that will have all the services that you'd find in a hotel, in and out every day in this building, and you won't have the ins and outs of people coming into the hotel, which I think is phenomenal. Anybody that knows Four Seasons and knows their brand will immediately know what this is going to be like, and it's something that you really don't have to sell to them. Either they know or they don't know.
Well, for those who don't, it might be useful. Again, thank God we have ChatGPT for so many quick research tools that we need these days. One of the interesting things is actually Google what makes Four Seasons different to other brands in the market, the hotelier brands. The one thing that I've understood, and I did my research, is that, and I mean this in a good way, they're incredibly controlling.
Yeah.
They do not even allow developers to come into the building without their authorization. So they're controlling everything that's going on. So the staff that are going to be trained by Four Seasons are going to be staying. How long is the licensing agreement with Four Seasons?
It's 30 years.
30 years, so that's a kind of a normal process. Yeah. Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate because, look, I would love to be here and be friendly with Chris, and we are, but I also need to ask the tough questions, because this is what people come to me for, to kind of like drill in. So, there's another Four Seasons. There's several Four Seasons in Miami. Number one, you've got the one in Brickell, which has been around since 2004 or 2005.
Right.
It's still the best performing condo in Brickell for right now. I think you're paying about $1,800 a square foot for that building, which is much higher than anything else, but they have a hotel element. And then you've got the Four Seasons up in Surfside, which the Surf Club, that is the most expensive building in Miami. In fact, actually in South Florida. They've had several sales this year, and we featured this on our other videos. If you see our 56th, 57th, and 58th independent review, We talk about the Four Seasons because it's the big example of the highest number in the market. You've got 5,100 a square foot, 52, 53, 5,400 a square foot. We had a $6,000 a square foot and a $6,700 square foot sale this year, admittedly the penthouse. But again, that has a hotel element. So it's got that external supporting free market conditions because people are coming in to use the restaurant. It's got that life and that energy. Very often, condo environments that have a brand attached to them but they don't have any outside income, it can really strain the economy. What is being offered here? What should they expect to pay, and why might this be different to what we might see in other kind of branded buildings that are, again, just for the residents?
Yeah, so I want to go back to Coconut Grove and what we currently have in the current market. As you know, we're delivering one of our sister projects right now, Vita, which is coming online now in November.
Yeah.
So most people always ask about, in today's current developments here in Coconut Grove, what would compare to this amazing project that's coming online? As you know, there's a limited amount of high-end luxury condominium buildings. And when I say high-end, I mean the real high-end ones, because everybody kind of says that it's high, but in this particular level. And I always kind of say, well, we're developing Vita, which I would compare to a lot, but currently, without considering Vita, I would say that Park Grove is always the one that kind of comes back to the...
Well, that's the highest dollar per square foot in the market. It's the one that has, and again, probably specifically, we've got to talk about the front tower. So geographically, maybe we're going to take a step back.
Sure.
The building is located on Bayshore Drive, right on the water. There's nothing in front of you but the bay, you've got the marina, so that nothing can be built in front. The building to the south of you,
to where I'm standing actually,
where you are exactly, that's where Park Grove would be. If I was over here, I would be where Grove at Grand Bay is.
Correct.
But fundamentally, where you are as the camera, that's the ocean. So this view looking out, that's the water. And if you consider what we consider one of the most important parts of being in the right building, it's floor plan, followed by views, followed by finishes, which we'll get into. So obviously we'll get into the floor plans, but the views here, that's kind of important. That's the southeast corner.
That's correct, yeah.
And that's the same as Park Grove's A-line.
This is our, if you will, our trophy line in the building. Every building has a line that is a little bit more attractive. And I would argue the fact that the 01 at Four Seasons is our premium line, if you will.
Systematically, the best lines, the southeast corner is typically the most desirable corner because the light that travels from east to west will travel across. And so the morning sun will come through here, and then the evening sun will be where you are. So that's the lightest and brightest unit, as opposed to the north side, which gets morning sun, but by the afternoon,
the sunset's gone.
The north side is a little darker. So that's always the trophy line. Same in Park Grove.
Yeah, and I think most buildings it's the same thing.
So that's the trophy line.
So I would say that this particular lot has a kind of an awkward shape to it. You know? We've been able to design a building with a limited amount of, Luis, which is our architect, Luis Urueta, he was able to, take advantage of all of the water frontage, as you said, on South Bayshore to maximize all the units facing the water. That being said, we only have 70 residences in this project, so it's not a lot of units. And I think that also adds to the importance. A lot of people, when they compare pre-construction projects, they're always saying, well, what is your have that mine doesn't have? And I immediately always say, well, this has 70 residences. We can argue the fact that,
which is very low density.
So for a client, it's really important to have the fact that you're not going to have a lot of neighbors, right? So 70 residences, I think it's very important, aside from, obviously the brand, the two developers that are involved in the project, the finishes, etc. But that main, point of 70 units is, you can really close a deal with that. It's a key part,
and I get why you're comparing it to Park Grove, because Park Grove, and again, the Tower 1 or Tower 2, but Tower 1's the real one to compare to this, is again 4 units per floor. In that case, it's A, B, C, and D. In your case, it's 1, 2, 3, and 4. But your units are square footage a little bit different. Because obviously the A-line is at now the shortcoming. So we'll get into the floor plans in a second. But you were explaining the Four Seasons and why that's got the value, like why that's so important.
Yeah. So the brand itself, I will say, and I was kind of walking into, when we started and we launched this project, I kind of walked into educating myself on this brand and what's the difference between this brand and other brands. Part of the purchase, as you know, is that we link these two properties together. We link this with the surf club, and I think it's important.
Is there a link? I mean, is there, like, what is the connection between the two?
The surf club has a beach club, a private beach club. And part of the purchase here will allow you the right to the invitation into that club without having to pay the initial fee. So it's a club, it's a beach club.
What is the membership currently? I mean, I know these things change, but if you want a beach club membership, Chris won't say exactly what the joining fee is at the Four Seasons Surf Club. So you have to pick up the phone and call me for that. There's many reasons to actually pick up the phone and call me at the end of this video, because we work very closely together.
Yeah, what I will say is that this club is by invitation only. And I think the great part about, purchasing a unit here and kind of connecting these two properties together is the fact that the invitation is being offered to our buyers, and it'll allow you to actually become a club member. And so that's a big deal for buyers that want to be taken and driven to the surf club, to that property, and spend the day over there and then come back.
And it's a fabulous location. So there's multiple restaurants, there's beach service, there's multiple pools. It's every inch of Four Seasons experience.
Right.
And then, so in the process of being a Four Seasons, it's not a particularly large site. I'll go through the negatives, because again, we'd want a full disclosure here. Yeah. It's not a particularly big site. So how are they managing to work within this site to give it that sense of, wow? I mean, I know that Park Grove Tower 1 would be about the same size and scale.
Yeah.
What have you got for the residents? What do they get?
Yeah, so in terms of amenities, we have an amazing, signature restaurant that'll go on the ground level, and I think it'll activate this whole corner right now. So this corner is going to become, important. It's next to, like you said, Park Grove. It'll kind of blend into the other restaurants that are a couple blocks away from here. So on the 6th floor of this building, you're going to have all of the amenities. You'll have, of course, the pool deck on the back end of our property. You'll have a bar outside, so food and beverage will be offered, in our cabanas in the back. As you work your way inside to the 6th floor, you're going to have another bar lounge area, fully serviced. There will be a owner's party room, so you have a party room to do events for the owners that are living here. There will be a children's room. We're going to have a state-of-the-art gym and a phenomenal spa. Yeah.
Spa experiences at Four Seasons are always considered top-notch. There's a lot of great things around. Give me a call and I can walk you through it. We'll have access to everything online. You'll see the floor plans. You'll see the details. We'll list the amenities. We'll get into it. Again, why are you going to listen to this over anyone else? Well, because I have the comparable numbers. I'm the numbers guy. I'm that absolute nerd when it comes to analyzing every building in Miami and getting super granular and explaining the pros and cons. Again, before we get into the numbers, we have to get into the units, because good real estate investments, and whether you're going to consider this as an investment or not, you ultimately want to buy right. It's not a building by building conversation. It's a line-by-line conversation. I've said it 1,000 times. So we're going to start with the trophy line, and then we're going to compare it to all the other, trophy lines in the neighborhood. So now we're going to get into the floor plan. The favorite line is the 01 line. Okay, and the key things that make any primary residence a home run. And again, if you want to knock it out the park, I'll tell you: good peripheral views, big master closet, and nice fluid flow with lots of light and not lots of annoying little corridors everywhere. Okay, so let's get into it with this unit. First and foremost, the peripherals. Again, flashing up on the screen. When you walk in, the peripherals, your ability to see left and to the right, the sites that your eye catches without looking directly ahead. All too often we see units throughout Miami that are, and particularly when you see middle stack units, where you almost have blinkers on, where you can just see forward. But when you open your eyes and you get that incredible fisheye view of everything, then it feels different. It's luxury at a legitimate level. And that's a lot of frontage. Look on the picture, look at how we've done this. It's a lot of frontage. Number one, I give you one tip, Chris.
Go ahead.
Well done.
I'm ready.
Okay, number two, closets.
Yeah.
Master bedroom. I love Park Grove A-line, but if I had one criticism about that unit, it would be that the closets aren't big enough. We always wish we had bigger closets. So,
in terms of closets, we have phenomenal closets here. If you're referencing the 01, only in our master bedroom, you have two huge, immense walk-in closets. Every unit that we have here at the Four Seasons, except for one particular line, the minute you open up the door, you have a view. There's only one line in this building, And I don't want to say which one it is because you can do the math and you guys will figure out which one it is. But on honesty, all the units, as you open up the door, you're going to have a water view.
Now we've got to think of the other functions that we need. Now finishes we'll get into.
Yeah.
And I don't want to just purely focus on like, look at the kitchen. I mean, that's a very typical thing. You walk into a sales center and they're like, look at the kitchen. I can rip out a kitchen and replace it for $120,000. That's not going to make me pay a premium or $3 or $4 or $5 million on top. I want to understand the flooring. How is the flooring done? Are we using natural stones? Are we using marble? How high are the ceilings? How high are the doors?
Yeah, that's a great question.
What are the doors using?
In terms of finishes, our doors, our kitchens, they'll come with a Crestron and a Lutron system, which, by the way, most developers don't give that as a standard. So that's an upgrade where a buyer would have to later put that, add that on. Flooring, you were talking about natural stones. We deliver our units, or we will be delivering our units with travertino throughout the units. The majority of the time at this level of units and their prices, most of the time buyers want their interior designer to get involved and to select flooring, as you're very familiar with.
Very familiar.
Yeah. So we work hand in hand with interior designers. We see what their buyers want, and then we'll either give them a credit for the flooring, and we will even offer to install their flooring for them. So that the day that they close on their unit, it's completely finished. So that saves a little bit of headache for them.
So the finishes are good. How high are the ceilings on this building?
Yeah. So our non-penthouse units are at 10 feet 6 inches. However, again, just like we did at Vita, they're completely flush throughout the unit. There's no drop ceilings in our units, and our penthouses are 10.6.
Okay, so ceilings are 10.6.
Yeah.
Park Grove is 12-foot ceilings, so they're a little bit more. And again, look, I'm not going to give you a full tick on this. I'm going to give you a partly tick.
But I will, just to defend myself, most buildings, buyers have to come in and drop their ceilings because, it might be. So
you don't have to drop your ceilings with this?
It's dropped.
It's already dropped?
Yeah, it's already dropped at that.
So that probably clears you another 6 inches.
Right.
So this is more like 11-foot ceilings.
Yeah, but we drop it so that here the thing is, we don't want the buyer to have to later go through construction and have to do all those things. So again, these developers are providing a little bit above and beyond what the standard is in terms of finishes. Okay,
so let's zoom through the rest of the unit. Again, nice master bedroom, 18 by 14, second, third and fourth bedrooms. These are decent sizes.
Yeah.
There's a junior suite at the back, which is almost like a fifth bedroom. It is a fifth bedroom.
Yeah.
And the den in the middle, it's classified as a den because it doesn't have a closet. But again, I'm seeing a lot of people now maybe integrating these together. You can come up with some tweaks.
We put up here, as you can see in this den, we put a door here. So if you want to do like a Jack and Jill with the den and that other secondary bedroom, you can kind of play with that. I also will point out to you, David, you asked, what differences does this have? In our primary bedrooms, we have 2 bathrooms. So we're not only giving you this primary here with a water view, we're also adding a secondary bathroom in the master.
I like the fact, so one of the things I do like about this is, and I have it in my own house, I get up in the morning, I like to get up early, I'm usually because I'm out running or riding or going to the gym, and sometimes my wife likes to sleep in a little bit longer than me, and I don't want to disturb her by getting on, turning the lights, going through the closet and coming back again. What I like here is you can leave the master bedroom, you can go to your closet, you can either go out through the door or you can go into the back closet and then through another door back out, use your bathroom, not wake up your wife because the master primary bathroom is right next, backing up to the bedroom. So I think you might be able to go in there, use the shower without creating disturbance. That's a nice feature. The other thing I like is the laundry. So one thing I liked about Park Grove is it had a proper laundry. Now, we've got a lot more to go to, and this is probably slightly a longer preview and review than other buildings that I've done.
Sure.
But I wanted to do this thorough because this is the first time anyone's come in and actually done a video for the Four Seasons in Coconut Grove. Chris called me this morning and said, David, get down here.
And you came the same day.
You have a pedigree for doing this, so come and do it.
Yeah.
The next line I'm going to go into, not everyone is going to be able to come in line with the prices here. I mean, again, what are we talking range of prices for this?
In terms of range for our one, we're anywhere between, I'd say, 13 to 17 million.
Okay, so 13 to 17 million does present an expensive proposition. Right now, to give you an idea, the most expensive unit that sold in Park Grove dollar per square foot was 15A, flash it up. That was a unit that was renovated, actually done by Design Solutions, my wife's company that you know very well. That was traded, actually traded twice almost within a year, and that traded last for $12.5 million.
How much it was a foot, or?
$3,600 a square foot.
$3,600 a foot.
Okay, so, and again, it was sold with furniture. There was probably about $2 million of renovations put into that unit, so it's really wow. Typically, you wouldn't get that high in Park Grove. You'd get up to like maybe 10 and change for a very, very good A-line.
Right.
But it's 3,250 square feet. This is clearly 3,975. So
here
again, we've got to scale up here.
We're achieving far north than those numbers here at Four Seasons. So we're hitting close to 4.
Okay, so $4,000 a square foot.
Yeah.
Okay. So again,
I mean, not for all the units, but
you're paying. Now the decision is yours to make if you see the value there to pay that higher dollar per square foot. Getting into the fact that not everyone is going to come in and maybe spend 15. We see a lot of buyers coming in under 10. That's the reality. 10 is like a big threshold number.
Absolutely. And
so what's the options for those buyers?
Yeah, so for that particular buyer, we have great options. We have our 03 and our 04 line, which I think are phenomenal units. They're both flow through, so they come from the bay side all the way back to the back of the building.
03 and 04 respectively right here.
Correct.
In the middle of the building.
They're both here. And those 2 units are 3-bedroom plus dens plus media room. So there's not only a den to it, there's also a media room. And so you have kind of like a TV room, if you will, and also a small den that has natural light, which is nice. So you can make it into a small office if you want, or you can make it into a separate bedroom if you want.
And how big are those units?
Those 2 units are roughly about 3,000 square feet.
Okay, so they're actually bigger than the D, the C, or the B in Park Grove. They're just a little bit smaller than the A. And what are you going to be paying for that? What's the range of price?
In terms of these 2 lines, I would say that we're anywhere between about 8.4, 8.5 to about almost close to 11.
Okay. Yeah. Which, if you come in line and look at the numbers, it's comparable to what Park Grove has been kind of offering. Again, we'll flash up the floor plans. Now, we didn't really get into the terraces a little bit, but I'm noticing you've got terraces here on the front.
Yes.
What happens as we go to the back of the building?
So the great thing about all these units is that, on the corners, they wrap around towards the back of the building, and you also have terraces on the back. Your premium views are facing the bay here, where South Bayshore Drive is, and of course here on this corner where 27th Avenue is. But in addition to that, both corners wrap around towards the back of the building, and then the 2 center units, they go from the water side all the way towards the back, where you also have a terrace. So you have terraces on both sides all around.
And that gives a little bit more room to breathe, should we say, in the back bedrooms.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which typically when you go into Park Grove, it's great, but the back bedrooms don't have any terraces, so there's no way to kind of feel expansion onto to give you more space.
Yeah.
And so with that in mind, the square footage of the terraces, how many square feet are we getting on these terraces?
I would say close to, the smallest is about 1,100 square feet.
1,100, okay. So when you go to Park Grove, expect around 750-ish, 750 square feet, which actually feels nice because they're kind of compact.
But here, they're...
So we've been through our favorite lines. Okay, there's either going to be the 01, a 3 or a 4. You're going to be somewhere between $8.5 and $11 million, or you're going to be somewhere between 13 to 17 for the 01 line. We're going to get into the numbers, but before we do, let's look at some of the finishes. Let's take a quick look at the kitchen, the bathroom, and then we're going to get back and give you those key numbers and then wrap this up. So now we're in the kitchen, just to kind of give you a flavor. I think this is just to give you a representation of what you can kind of expect. One of the things, and we did a really good video on explaining quality, what I call luxury custom homes with Danny Sabali from Brickell, and we got into what makes truly luxury property. And that was around the single family market. But I think the fundamentals stay the same. High level, natural stones, woods, expensive hardware, expensive plumbing fixtures, good appliances, good ceiling, good lighting, good flooring. It's the same truth across the market. Yeah. Take us through what we get here at the Four Seasons. Yeah,
so our kitchens are designed by Molteni, which Molteni has become very famous here in South Florida and now is being seen in many developments. We also did Molteni kitchens in Vita. We're very happy with that result, and Ugo was, he wanted to again use them in this project. I think that they do a phenomenal job with the kitchens, as you guys can see right behind me. Natural stones, as you said, David, for the tops. And our appliances are Miele. We always kind of stick with Miele. They do a great job.
Yeah. And they're pretty easy to be maintained because there's lots of Miele engineers through South Florida. So if you have a problem, you make a call. It's not too avant-garde that you don't have someone who can come and fix it. The countertop is marble.
Yes.
Wood cabinetry at the back.
Wood cabinetry.
Are we taking the stone all the way up the wall here? Is this atypical?
So I believe for our larger units, yes. For smaller units, you won't have so much space to do that. But you'll still have the shelving until you get there. I'll also mention to you guys that this is kind of a darker version of the kitchen.
Right.
We'll also offer a lighter version of the kitchen so the client can select the colors of the kitchen.
And that's something that, look, the Park Grove kitchens, we can flash those up. There are some things that they had that I liked. They did have gas in the kitchen. Gas, electric. This is obviously induction.
Yes.
Induction. You got to, pick your poison. I'm not saying one is better than the other. And again, I use gas at home because I have a house. This is obviously induction. It is what it is. In terms of the ceiling, as I see here, I see trimless. I see we seem to be doing away from the linear diffusers or even the box AC vents that we've seen in a lot of other buildings.
Yeah. So not to pat ourselves on the back, but in the majority of our projects, and I say in Vita as one of our projects that we're delivering now, we've included this as a standard. So Ugo is inserting this as a standard in all his projects. You don't really see that often in most pre-construction projects. So this is the norm. This is becoming the norm now for us.
This is when you get this, you have to bring in an interior designer to typically do it, because we're doing a renovation now in a unit in the Grove, and we're going to be changing out the AC vents into these trimless. And again, the mechanics behind it, and again going back to the video that we shot with Danny Savalli, it's good for you to watch that to understand how we eye up true luxury when it comes to construction. There is a definitive difference in cost to have this type of AC system rather than your normal. Not only is it aesthetically more pleasing to the eye, but it functions better as well. You don't have the motors behind it, you don't get the whirring noise. It's kind of ACs are kept separately to the system. Now, getting into the other variables, let's take a quick glance at the bathroom, and then let's get into the numbers. So we're here in the bathroom, we've got marble on the floors, we've got nice paneling millwork here. Again, it's an important feature for luxury. The way they've obviously done the marble all the way up the walls. This is fully enclosed.
Fully enclosed.
Stall. It is pretty. I mean, again, I wouldn't expect anything less than the Four Seasons. A lot of the features that we've seen in luxury buildings still need these upgrades, and I feel like Four Seasons has done a really good job of covering that next step up. So you're kind of halfway between what an interior designer would do and what a developer typically delivers.
Correct, exactly.
It's beautiful. So let's run back and now let's get into the numbers, because I know everyone's dying to know how it stacks up.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So now let's get into the numbers. You've had a soft launch for a while. This is actually day one of actually having the sales office open. I'm here for the first person through the door to shoot this, just because we have a long-standing relationship. I have this funky title as super broker status in Miami, where I fluidly move in and out of...
I would call it friend.
Friend, yeah. I move in and out of these sales offices. I know the developers. In fact, Ugo, amongst other developers, has been on my podcast. He was one of my very first guests.
That's right.
About 3 years ago, came on. He was, I think, the first guest we had. Fantastically. Better Decisions podcast. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. We're now up to our 70th episode, which is doing great. But the
numbers.
Percentages of what's sold. First, I want to start with how are you selling it here? How much is available in the building?
So, there's a lot of talk out there, and we've heard rumors about brokers saying that the project isn't selling. Of course, brokers are always talking what they do best, talk about. But I can tell you with certainty, we're halfway sold already. We have ample amounts of inventory. We still have, every line has availability in terms of unit mix. So we have an ample amount of inventory that's available.
So optionality, there's units available, options. 50% of the building is sold, which is congratulations, that's great.
Thanks.
That's actually a critical number, because a lot of developers need to get there in order to get their construction loan. Now, you guys have already started, haven't you?
We've already started
construction. Completion date, when are you estimating completion
we're estimating to start closings, I'd say, beginning of 28.
Okay, but that's actually pretty good. So comparing it to the other top level buildings in the market, some of the other buildings that I really love, and again, it's no surprise to a lot of people that Mandarin's made that list, the The other buildings that I talk about on the beach is Rivage, I've talked about Paragon, you've obviously covered Fisher 6. A lot of buildings I like are actually later, like Mandarin isn't going to be ready till 2030. This is beginning of 2028, which might sound like a while, but we're already in September 25.
Yeah, we're close to 26, so.
So it's going to be a couple of years.
Yeah.
So now we're going to do a little bit of mental arithmetic. Let me see how good my math is.
Sure.
Let's take a unit and then we're going to stack it up against the rest of the competition, not just in the Grove, but I'm going to do it in the whole of Miami, because that's how much of a nerd I am. I have 15 territory managers from Palm Beach down to Palmetto Bay, and we study the numbers on every single neighborhood, and they report back to me, and I have to memorize that. So we're going to play this little game where I'm going to see if I can get all my numbers correct. Okay. So unit 1201.
Priced at $14.7.
$14.7 million. It's 3,974 square feet. That works out to about $3,700 a square foot. Is that about right?
Yeah,
That's bang on. Yeah, do the math. Actually, really close. That was really close. $3,699 a square foot. I'm like, bang on. Okay, so I give myself that one. So at $3,700 a square foot, as I mentioned before, we have Park Grove's 15A, 3,250 square feet. Came in with furniture, so we have to factor that in a little bit, but that sold at $12.5 million, which was $3,600 a square foot. So this is a smidge more than that.
Right, a little bigger. And
of course, if you look at the product and you decide that, hey, this is better, then you justified yourself where that number is. And again, we can also discuss as we come in and we talk offers.
Sure.
But I think it would be unfair just to compare it to Park Grove, because that's not enough. We need to go expand out a little bit to be really smart about this. So if I take you down into, let's say, Brickell, and we look at the Mandarin, different neighborhood, different product, that's a lower dollar per square foot. That's going to come in somewhere around $2,600 a square foot. It's about $1,000 a square foot less. However, it's a very different market. The average dollar per square foot in Brickell currently stands at less than $1,000 a square foot. The average in the Grove for these newer buildings is around $2,500 a square foot for resale. And again, bearing in mind,
and I think even you know, and you can add Vita, for example, we're trading close to $3,000 a foot over there.
Yeah.
Over here, I'd say we're in between $35,000 to $4,000 a foot.
And if we go to the beach now, which I think is good to compare to, I came off the back of looking at the Ritz-Carlton last week. They're coming in around $4,000 a square foot, $4,500 a square foot, and their big units are coming in at $5,500 a square foot. Now, that's the Ritz-Carlton, the Four Seasons, compare the two. They have 30 units, you have 70, but the Ritz and the Four Seasons are not the same brand, so let's...
Different area, I think.
A little different area, different product. Fiona House and the Edition is around $3,600 a square foot. It's a little bit older now. The Four Seasons, your friend up on Surf Club.
Surf Club, yeah.
That's a totally different animal. Now you're well over $5,000 a square foot. So dollar per square foot coming around $3,700. If I look at the most luxurious buildings in Miami, and I'm to take the top 10 that every year we do our top 10 best resale condos in Miami, and we take the Four Seasons, you're cheaper than that. We take Continuum, south of 5th, you're cheaper than that. That's for $4,000 a square foot.
I want to say cheap, less expensive.
Less expensive, yeah, sorry, that would be rude if you just say it's cheap. Then if we took Oceana's about $3,700 a square foot. Now you're coming into line with the competition. As we move through the food chain, you've got Fiona, you've got the Edition, and then obviously you've got older buildings into the Sway as well. If we look at other buildings on the beach, there's a number of buildings, Paragon, Rivage, the Delmore. I mean, these are all, you know, much more expensive proposition. But the person who buys the beach is not the person who buys the Grove. We've said this 1,000 times. I've taken many people from the depth and breadth of Miami, from Bar Harbor to South Beach to South of 5th to Fisher Island to Sunny Isles, and if I bring them into the Grove, it's a very specific buyer who buys the Grove. And if I can stereotype a little bit, it's empty nesters.
Exactly.
It's a primary residence. It's a lot of Europeans, a lot of people from New York and California. Walkability in the Grove is not like any other neighborhood in Miami. I will challenge anyone to tell me that their neighborhood is as walkable as Coconut Grove. I love the Sunset Harbor area in Miami Beach. It's really cute. I like going to Call Me Gabby, the restaurant down in South of 5th, or Joe Stonecrab. There are other pockets I like up in Bal Harbour, but none of it is the same as the Grove. And I'm not talking about Four Seasons now, I'm just talking about Coconut Grove in general. And people come up to me all the time, I'm sitting in Pura Vida having lunch, and they're like, wow, you actually live here? I'm like, yeah, I actually do. My kids go to school here, I live here, you know, so I do know this. We went through our favorites, and I went to the 01 and then the toss up between the 3 and the 4. But I feel like because there's only 4 units, it wouldn't be a complete review if we didn't talk about the 02 line. I feel like we left that one out a little bit.
Roughly close to 4,000 square feet. In terms of prices, I would say anywhere between 12 to, again, 16. But I will say that the 02 is very attractive in its layout. The 01, as you can see in the floor plan, has more of a diagonal type of feel to it. Whereas I feel that the 02 has more of a layout that is a little bit more comfortable. It's a little boxier, so the walls aren't, you know, in diagonal, and they have a little bit more of a normal type of layout, I feel.
And the view's different. So the view to the south obviously overlooks the south part of the Grove, overlooks like Gables Estates and Coco Plum and that kind of single family market.
Yeah, the 02 will face the Brickell skyline to the left, and then you have the open bay right in front of it. So it's again, they're all facing the water. I feel that the 02 will have a better a glimpse of the skyline of Brickell lit up towards the left, and of course the water right in front of the unit.
Okay, so the dollar per square foot that we're talking about, the 01, again matching because if it's 12 to 16
it's
on
more or
02,
less the same.
It's potato.
Yeah, exactly.
3 and the 4 line, they're around 3,000 square feet. Again, we're blending those out probably around 3,200 a square foot. So let's give it about $500 a square foot less than what you might pay for the 01 or the 02. That can now flirt around $3,000 per square foot. Now, that's now competing against other units that you'll see in Coconut Grove. And yes, they may be competing against some of the A lines that you'll see in Tower 2. That's slightly obstructed because you've got Tower 1 in front of you. Love the A line, but in Tower 1 it's definitely quite different and much the winner. And then you've obviously got to deal with the B, the C and the D line in Park Grove, and then obviously you've got the 01s and the 02s at Grove at Grand Bay.
Right, yeah.
This is going to very much compete comparably to what you've got in the resales for Park Grove and Grove at Grand Bay. However, the variable difference is how it's going to feel, how it's finished, if the floor plan works for you.
Yeah, and just to add to your point, you know, I also like to tell clients, you know, we're going to be built out in 2 years, and you know, buildings 2 years are 2 years more that those buildings get older, and you know, but when this new kid on the block is delivered here in the Grove, this is going to be, I mean, you know. And buildings get older, I'm not saying that, but you know, you gotta also be realistic to, you know, a building that has been around for a couple of years.
Age becomes a factor. I think what's also good to do, and again, we're gonna flash up on the screen, which I haven't typically done when I do the new condo construction reviews, but I'm gonna do it in this case. I'm gonna show you what's happened to the dollar per square foot in Coconut Grove over the last 15 years. Want to see that?
Yeah, I'm excited.
All right.
I'm curious to see it.
If you flash it up on the screen right now, you're gonna see, look at the dollar per square foot in Coconut Grove. Look how it's moved. Now, let's compare it to the beach. Let's compare it to Brickell. Let's compare it to Sunny Isles, right? If you look, Coconut Grove's condo market has outperformed every single market in Miami. And that has to do with really 2 things. Number 1, it's a very limited supply of product. You cannot build that many new condos. In Coconut Grove, you see 1 come at a time. There's other new buildings coming into Coconut Grove which are phenomenal. The Well, I'm a sales director of the Well, so I'm almost like talking to the competition here. But that's a different type of buyer. It's located behind. We're in around $1,600 to $1,800 a square foot. We're not selling the views there. So, you know, if you are in a buyer in that kind of like 6-7 range and under, then the Well's going to be really something you're going to focus on. And of course, we've got some other units as well that we can talk about. But here we're here to focus on the Four Seasons. What's really fascinating is to see how the values of the Grove have gone up. And when you look at and consider the supply of the product available to you, and secondly, the nature of the people who buy. This isn't a second home market. This isn't an investment market. People aren't buying these units to rent them out. The people who buy these units are the same people that we see who buy Park Grove. And if you go and try to get certain lines now, if you try and buy an A line in Park Grove Tower 1, we call it the billionaires line. Because it's a bunch of people who have money is not their currency. Time is their currency. And when you try to get those units, you have to try to just outbid someone who's currently living there and getting them to move to what's the next thing that they're going to buy. Well, it's very hard. Once this is sold, you're probably going to find a fight to get the next unit that will come available on resale.
Absolutely.
And 2 years right now, interest rates are about to drop. We see our markets bump. Expect that numbers will move. It will be fascinating to see how this plays out 2 years from now. And we'll track it and we'll watch it.
But I urge you to.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. And again, we built softwares to do exactly that, to track the markets. I hope that this video has really given those watching a good understanding of this building. I hope it's illustrated that I know Coconut Grove. I know the product. I sell the product. I know Chris very well. I know this developer very well. I can move you through this sales office seamlessly. I've hopefully illustrated that there isn't a square inch of the Grove that I haven't studied, I'm not aware of. And I'll be able to give you some impartiality to this product. If you currently live in the Grove, this is a shameless plug, if you live in the Grove, if you're in a condo in the Grove or in a home and you would like some good close quarters analysis, please give me a call. Again, I sell all the buildings, including, as I said, Park Grove. I think I've sold 27 units now on record in the last 4 years, so I kind of know that building pretty well. This will continue to be studied, as does the whole market. Chris, I want to thank you for doing this video with us.
Sorry for my appearance, but you caught me off guard.
You don't have to dress up for me, just for the public. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope that you'll call me after this and we'll give you more information. Please do read the article that's accompanying with this video where we feature all the floor plans and all the studies and all the facts and numbers that we've added in this dialogue today. Hopefully that's really given you some good optics. And stay tuned for the 60th new condo construction review coming soon. Thank you for watching.